love fish. I think I could eat about any type of fish, and I believe I could eat fish every day. That's how much I love fish, and I've already found out some of the good places around here to get fish, and if there are places I've missed, come tell me where I can get a good fish sandwich or a good fried fish. Of course, I know Cracker Barrel across the street on Fridays is fried cod. I love going over there for their cod. There's a place called B&B Carryout. You ever heard of that up in Waynesville? You can get fried catfish. Houston Inn, you can get orange roughy. Old Bag of Nails, you can get whitefish. So I'm kind of finding my way around to find good places to get some great fish. But I love fish. I believe Jesus loved fish. And so I have a little bit of biblical support for my love of fish. But there's a wonderful miracle in the Gospel of Matthew. Actually, it's a miracle that occurs in all four Gospels. It's the only miracle that Jesus performed that occurs in all four Gospels, and it's the feeding of the 5,000. I want to read this to you. Matthew chapter 14, verses 13 through 21. Marvelous miracle. And by the way, as you're turning there, you remember at the end, I won't read the verse, but at the end of John 21, it says if he were to record all the miracles or all the things that Jesus did, that the world would not contain the books. And so he performed so many miracles, but I just want to point out one, and that's the feeding of the 5,000. It says, beginning in verse 13 of chapter 14 in Matthew's Gospel, "Now when Jesus heard this, he withdrew from there in a boat to a desolate place by himself. But when the crowds heard it, they followed him on foot from the towns. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them and healed their sick. Now when it was evening, the disciples came to him and said, 'This is a desolate place, and the day is now over. Send the crowds away to go into the villages and buy food for themselves.'" What they were saying is, let them take care of themselves, Jesus. But Jesus said, "They need not go away. You give them something to eat." Notice he puts it back on them. You give them something to eat. They said to him, "We have only 5 loaves here and 2 fish." And he said, "Bring them here to me." That's a very important statement. Bring them here to me. Then he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass, and taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, he looked up to heaven and said a blessing. Then he broke the loaves and gave them to the disciples, and the disciples gave them to the crowds, and they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up 12 baskets full of the broken pieces left over, and those who ate were about 5,000 men, besides women and children. So if you really want to be technical, this is not the feeding of the 5,000. It says in the last verse, 5,000 just the men. But there were also women and children. So this could have been the feeding of the 10,000, the feeding of the 15,000, the feeding of maybe even the 20,000 that Jesus performed this miracle with 2 pieces of fish and 5 loaves of bread. I don't know about you, but 2 pieces, that's enough for me, okay? Let alone 10, 15, 20,000 people. So Jesus is able to perform mighty miracles. This is a mighty miracle that with 2 pieces of fish and 5 loaves of bread, he fed the multitudes. Not only that, read it carefully, and there were 12 baskets left over. So it wasn't like he just barely had enough and the last person came through the line, "Oh, you get this little bitty piece of fish. I know it's not that much, but take what we got left over and a little piece of stale bread." No, they had enough for everyone. They ate to their full. They ate till they said, "We don't want any more," and 12 baskets left over. Let me tell you, God provides. Where God guides, God provides. And he can meet any need that you have. But notice again, the disciples were like, "Hey, Jesus, we can't handle this. Just let them take care of themselves. Send them away. Let them feed themselves." Jesus put it back on the disciples and said, "No, you feed them." And actually, they did the right thing. They put it back on Jesus. We can't do it. And Jesus says, "Bring them here to me." You know, at times in our life, Jesus challenges us and we feel overwhelmed. "Oh, I can't do this. I can't perform this ministry. I can't handle this situation." And the purpose is that you'll turn around and put it back on Jesus. Jesus wants us to feel our helplessness. That's a good thing. We don't like to feel helpless. We don't like to feel inadequate. But Jesus will orchestrate circumstances in your life where you feel helpless on your own, and that's not a bad feeling. That should be a good feeling, because that motivates you to come back to Jesus and say, I can't do this, I can't handle this. Jesus, you must take care of this. And that's when he says, with a smile on his face, bring them here to me. I'll take care of it. I'll empower you. I'll meet the need. Jesus can meet all our needs. You remember what it says over in Philippians chapter 4 and verse 19, a wonderful verse about God's provision. And my God will supply every need of yours according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus. Every need you have. Let me ask you this. What are your needs today? Do you have financial needs? Maybe you say, I don't know how we're going to be able to pay our bills this month, Pastor. God provides. Where God guides, God provides. Relational needs. You remember back around Christmas, I shared a message on reconciliation. Sent that message out, preached it, didn't know what impact it would have. Later I received a phone call from a lady that she and her husband were thinking about getting a divorce, and their marriage was about to fall apart. She heard the message. It touched her heart. It touched his heart. Met at an altar of prayer. Reconciled, forgave each other. Just saw them the other evening at a banquet with smiles on their face together. Listen, God can meet our relational needs. You think that marriage is over? God can resurrect that marriage. God can resurrect it. Our physical needs. Maybe you're sick in body today and you don't know how you're going to be healed. God can heal. If he can feed the 20,000, he can touch your body. And let me tell you, most importantly, he can meet every spiritual need you have. Every spiritual need. You need to be saved, he can save you. You need to overcome that habit or temptation, he can help you. You need to grow spiritually, he can empower you. You need help understanding the Bible, he can give you illumination. You need to deepen your prayer life, he can strengthen you in your prayer life. You need to fulfill that ministry God's been laying on your heart for weeks and months, maybe years. No, I can't do it, God. No, I'm not able, God. No, I don't have the background. I don't have the education. Where God guides, God provides. He could feed the multitudes with 2 pieces of fish and 5 loaves of bread. He can meet your needs, and he can help you with whatever he's calling you to do.